Now, of course, I have a skating story to tell. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a roller skater a couple times a week when I'm in town and sometimes even when I travel. And so I'm serious about my roller skating. It is great exercise, but it also is a really great meditation. It's a moving meditation for me often. And just 2 weeks ago, I had an experience, and I'll admit up front, before I tell you the story, I was not showing up as love or light. Baragani. Hey, the answer can be Kwanzaa. The answer can be what the day, the principle of the day, which is. Thank you. So Habaragani? Ujama. Yeah, so let me just make the bridge, build the connection, because some of you may be hearing about Kwanzaa for the very first time. And there are 7 principles. They are celebrated over 7 days, beginning December 26th. And the first principle on December 26th is Umoja. And Umoja stands for unity. The second day, we look at Kujichagulia. It is my favorite day, and I think it's just because it's fun to say, Kujichagulia. But I also think it's my favorite day of the 7 because it is focused on, or Kujichagulia means self-determination. And it's the time to really stop and think about who you want to be and how you want to be in the world, and then to choose behaviors that will reflect that or will open your life into that which you have determined that is right for you. Day 3 of Kwanzaa is Ujima. And that stands for collective work and responsibility, that which we do together in order to affirm ourselves and to better our communities. And Ujama, which is the 4th day of Kwanzaa, and yes, that happens to be the principle for today, this year. And Ujama is about cooperative economics and how we share our financial resources and plan as a community or as a family or as a church to work together to support each other economically and to make sure that all of the basics are covered with the financial resources that are available. Day 5 is Nia, or purpose, and that we actually walk and live our lives from a place of purpose that is bigger than our own ego, and that the purpose of life itself gets reflected in how we show up in our lives. Day 6 of Kwanzaa, or the 6th principle of Kwanzaa, is Kuumba, and Kuumba means creativity. And that is the principle that reminds us that we are always creating, and that creativity is not just about the arts, or not just about being an artist, but that creativity is about looking at things in a different way, or using things that you have before and coming up with a different result, and creating that which you've been thinking about in the previous days of Kwanzaa, and how do you create that in your life or in your community. And then day 7 of Kwanzaa is Imani, or faith. And how we all have 100% faith. I mean, this is what we teach in metaphysics and in science of mind. No one ever has any lack of faith. The question is, what are you putting your faith into? And so faith in the celebration of Kwanzaa reminds us to have a faith in something that is also bigger than our individual desires or our individual experience, and to recognize that that which created all of life has the ability to create any and everything, and to have faith in that which is unseen, faith that everything that you desire can come true. So as I've reviewed these 7 principles and just given you the snapshot, if this is your first time hearing them, or maybe you're hearing them for today as if they were the first time, you're hearing them differently, then there is no shortage of research or resources that you can look up on the internet, or you can talk to members of our own community about how they celebrate Kwanzaa and what it means to each of us. And I encourage you to explore that further. But just by me going over those 7 principles and reminding you of them, for many of you, you've heard them before, what I always like to remember is that these 7 principles that guide me throughout the year are so in alignment with what we teach in science of mind and in metaphysics. There's really nothing that is in Kwanzaa that is not also in our teaching. Nothing. It may be phrased a little differently. It may be saying, this is what I know, and looking at it from this direction instead of this direction. But celebrating Kwanzaa actually became easier for me, and I've celebrated Kwanzaa since 1972, I think, 2 or 3. And but it became even easier for me and a deeper experience for me as I began to really understand life from a metaphysical perspective. So there's no surprise that when I'm saying wishing you or you a joyous Kwanzaa, that I'm also wishing you a joy-filled life, a life that is grounded by these same principles that we have committed to integrate into our life all the time. So love is the light, and love is the common thread. You notice that of the 7 principles, love is not one of them, because love simply is the existence of life itself, and love is always present. And you cannot actually execute on any of these 7 principles without coming from a place of love, the biggest kind of love. And as you've noticed, as we've gone through this entire month of celebrations, and really more than a month, beginning with Thanksgiving and going through New Year's Day, that almost everything we have celebrated reminds us to look for the light, to stand in the light, or to live and be the light in the world. So I loved that this focus today is love is the light. Because in this season of holy days and holidays and celebrations with family and friends and deep spiritual practice, all we're doing is over and over and over again reminding ourselves that love is present and I am the light. So that's really what I'm going to focus on today. What does Ernest Holmes tell us about love? In the glossary, in the Science of Mind textbook, if you turn in the glossary to love and look for the definition, it will start off with this. Love is the self-givingness of the spirit through the desire of life to express itself. Love is the light. Love is the light. Love is the self-givingness of spirit. Spirit, this invisible, infinite power and presence seeking to express itself, to give of itself in an infinite number of ways. Every form of life is an example of spirit gifting itself into that form, into that blade of grass, into that oak tree, into the sand on the beach. and into every human being, every pet that you have or have ever owned, the bird in the tree outside your house, the squirrel that scampers up the tree outside my bedroom window, every form of life, the star, the sun, the moon, every planet is spirit giving of itself into a form. There are no exceptions to this. That which has been created by spirit is simply a representation of spirit itself in a specific combination of physical manifestation. Does that make any sense? I mean, I know I just said it probably 5 times, but it's like all month, the last 4.5 weeks, and for the next week coming forward, I've been doing so much spiritual practice, and it keeps going back to this reminder that love and light are seeking to express. So if love is the light, knowing what love is, truly what love is, not the romantic love, not the, I mean, that's a form of it, right? Not the idealized love that we hear about from a human perspective. It is like way bigger than that. That doesn't make the small examples wrong or bad. It just reminds us not to limit our understanding of love to those small examples. So love is the self-givingness of the Spirit, or the self-givingness of God through the desire of life to express itself. Because Spirit desires to express itself. And it doesn't express itself in Sharon the same way it expresses itself in Carl, or the same way it expresses itself in Reverend Patty, or the same way it expresses itself in Tom. It expresses itself uniquely. And that actually is why those of you who know about all of the work that I do in the world related to diversity and inclusion, that is why. Because I understand that spirit is the love expressing itself as life, as each individual human being in a very unique way. And every time I meet someone different who's from a different culture, who speaks a different language, who has a different gender identity or sexual orientation, everyone who has been raised up in a different religious background or spiritual or faith experience, everyone who has had a significant experience that is different from me is God seeking to express itself in a unique way. And I'm fascinated by that. I'm not afraid of it. I am not fighting it. I am fascinated by all of the diversity that exists in our experience. But it doesn't have anything to do with politics. It doesn't have anything to do with really social justice. It doesn't, for me, have anything to do with is it the right thing or the wrong thing to do. For me, there is no way to live in a world that represents the infinite ways that God can express without engaging, not just seeing it and go, oh, it's okay. Yeah. She's different from me. Good for her. No, it's noticing it, yes, but engaging with it. That gives me the opportunity to see and know and be blessed by the face of God in all of its forms.
I'm so glad you joined us today. That makes you a part of CSL Dallas. And we love that our community continues to grow. And we also love to give great spiritual content. And a way that you can participate in our community is financially give to it. It's easy to do so. Go to CSLDallas.org and hit the give button. Or you can set up a text giving mechanism at 972-954-4404, a safe and secure way to send us money whenever you watch a great message like this. So thanks for giving, and buckle up, because here comes the spiritual content.
So love is this self-givingness of God, giving of itself into all these different forms. And for me, that's a really big thing during this period of time, but so too is the light. If you were to walk around our facility and notice the different displays for the different holy days and holidays, you would notice Advent has candles, and there's a sequence of lighting the candles. Bodhi Day does not connect with a candle, although many of us will use a votive or a candle, but it's about the light, the enlightenment from the inside out. Winter solstice is about recognizing that even in the darkest day, that is the time when things begin to change and the light begins to return as each day after that gets a little bit longer. Christmas is always, I don't know if it's my favorite, but often when I'm reviewing the nativity story or hearing it or thinking about it or reading about it, I get captured by follow the North Star. Look at the star. Look for the star in the sky. Follow that. It's the light that guides us to the Christ consciousness that we all want. Hanukkah, the oil burned for 8 days, so there was light. Kwanzaa, 7 principles, the Nguzo Saba, 7 candles, the Mishuma Saba, 7 candles. Lighting 1 candle per day. Is there any light with New Year's Eve? The fireworks? Yeah. New Year's Day here, our practice is to do the burning bowl. And we burn away that which no longer serves us, creating by that fire the light, birthing into our future. So Ernest Holmes defines light. There's a really long definition in the glossary about light, but there's a piece in it that says light was the first great revelation of divine creative energy that called all living beings into being. Light, the first great revelation of divine creative energy that called all living beings into being. So you've got love, spirit giving of itself, and light revealing that self in individual ways of being. So I also, as much as I use science of mind, I also really use the Bible as a reference. And as most of you know, we don't teach that Jesus the Christ was an exception. And Jesus himself, as you read the Bible, reminds us all that anything that he did, each one of us can do in our own lives, in our own ways. And that is bring and be the light. So when you think about those of you who have been exposed to the Bible before, there are so many places in the Bible that remind us that each one of us is the light, or at least can be the light, if we choose to live in that way. So let there be light, and there was light. The beginning of creation itself, the very first creation, the very first impulse of spirit gifting itself into form, the command was, let there be light. And there was light. The scripture, I am the light of the world. He that followeth with me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. Now, maybe it seems a little funny or strange. I am the light of the world. Imagine Jesus saying that. I am the light of the world. Anyone who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of light, the love of life and light. Now, that wasn't said in this way. If you follow me, then you will be able to bathe in my light. It wasn't from that place. Sometimes it's easy for us to think, we are holy, we are blessed, we are whole, perfect, and complete. And we are living our light in that way and living our life in that way. And so people just need to listen to me. I'll tell you what to do. I've read my science mind, but I got an A in foundations. I was the star student in Karen's Power of Decision class. I know what I'm doing. I am the light of the world, and you better get behind me and catch up. Our ego sometimes has us thinking that way. But the truth of what was said was, if you follow me, not meaning follow me, the human being, but follow my way of being. Integrate these same beliefs into your life. Know what I know. If you follow me in that way, you can't walk in darkness. It is impossible. All you can do is show up as the light. And that is exactly what the 7 principles of Kwanzaa do. They remind us, if we are engaged in these principles of unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, faith, creativity, purpose. It doesn't matter if you follow each one of them or all 7 of them at the same time, but that you remember each one of them in that moment where you have a choice to make. And if you do that, you cannot walk in darkness. Everywhere you go and everywhere you show up, you will be showing up as the light. I have sent thee, and I have set thee to be a light. I have sent thee into the world to be the light. I have set up within each person the ability to be the light. He that loveth his brother abideth in the light. Not, I know you can read it, I know. However, it strikes me that this doesn't say, he that tolerate his brother abideth in the light. He that knows about his brother or his sister or his family member abideth in the light. It doesn't say that. What does it say? He that his brother abideth in the light. And of course we know that we're quoting language that is meant to be inclusive, even though in our day and time we might not consider that inclusive. But I love going back to the base text to remind me that centuries and centuries and centuries and centuries ago, this truth that was true then is true now. So loving all human beings is an example of abiding in the light and shining as a light in the world. So there's a part of me that feels inspired by this, remembering what is the love and remembering what is the light. And then there's a part of me that feels a little bit afraid, because it's really pretty simple, but we make it so complicated. And what makes me a little afraid is, can I live up to that? Can I live up to being love and light? Can I live up to these 7 beautiful, valuable, inspiring, ancient wisdom principles? Can I do that? So during this last week of the year, Kwanzaa is a gift to me, and a gift that I give myself to remind myself that, yes, Kwanzaa is my reminder that this week is I can be the love and I can be the light. And if I can do it this week, then next week maybe I'll try again. And next week I'll try a little bit harder. And the week after that I might forget. But then the following week I can remind myself again. Now don't be confused. I don't remember this 100% of the time. And that's why we have holidays, holy days, and these experiences to remind us. That's all it's about. Reminding us to be the love and the light. You won't be surprised, those of you who know me, that of course I have a skating story to tell. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a roller skater a couple times a week when I'm in town, and sometimes even when I travel. And so I'm serious about my roller skating. It is great exercise, but it also is a really great meditation. It's a moving meditation for me often. And just 2 weeks ago, I had an experience, and I'll admit up front, before I tell you the story, I was not showing up as love or light. So I have a true confession. I don't engage with a lot of people at the skating rink. Many of you have heard me say that before. Because I'm really not going as a social experience for the most part. And so I don't talk to a whole lot of people except, I speak to the regulars, but I don't really get into conversation. And everybody who's a regular skater, they have certain moves that, they just feel good. And so you use them all the time. And I am really aware there is nothing new that anyone can do on roller skates. There are only 8 wheels, there are 2 legs, and okay, it's been done before. There's nothing new, but you put your own little flair to it. You put your own little style to it. And I have a little move. It's really a cool move. It's like you step back 4 times, and then you cross over the front 4 times. And of course, while I'm doing this, I'm acting as if I have no care in the world. I'm not concentrating at all. I'm just floating to the music. I love this move, this sequence. So I was doing that on a Thursday a couple of weeks ago. And then on Sunday night, 2 Sundays ago, there's this group of skaters at the skating rink. And it's a skate club, and I know most of them, and they're cool, and they're great skaters. And there's one skater, and he's kind of in the middle of about 8 of them, and they're all looking at him, and he's counting, and they're trying to pick up what he's doing, and he's going back, 2, 3, 4, and then switch and cross front, 2, 3, 4. I'm like, what? What? This really, I was I couldn't even find the words. That's my thing. That's my step. That's my jam. What is he doing? And then I'm laughing a little bit because all the people around him are tripping over their own feet and almost falling because, they're trying to get it and get the rhythm and get the count. But I'm looking at him and I'm like, I didn't give him permission. Okay, you did hear me say, I know there is nothing new on skates, nothing new, nothing. But nobody, in 20 years, I've done that regularly, and no, I've never seen anyone else do it. And only one person has asked me permission to do it. And I gave him permission because he asked, and I said, just, tweak it a little bit, make it your own. And he did. And that was like 5 or 6 years ago. So this guy's doing this, and the whole group, and I get livid. I am angry. I'm like, who does he think he is? What is it? Now, that doesn't really sound like love or light. I was not entertained in the least. I was not flattered in the least. I was angry. And that doesn't happen very often, so I try to do the spiritual thing. I get off the rink and I sit on the side and I'm like, it's okay, Tracy. He's doing it well. That's really great. I open my eyes and I see them going by me. Just about that time, they're back up at this end of the rink. And I'm like, who does he think he is? What is that? Okay, so long story short, after about 30 minutes, after about 15 minutes, I was like, okay, this really is bothering you. You need to go talk to him. Because it looks like to me, he saw me doing that on Thursday night. He doesn't normally come to the Thursday night rink, but that Thursday he had been there. And then on Sunday, he shows up, and he's claimed my thing. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go talk to him. And I'm skating over, but I'm so mad, I realize I'm going to cuss him out. So this would not be good. Those of you who know me well, that would not be characteristic of Tracy Brown. So I'm like, okay, I can't talk to him right now because I'd have to go get him out of this group. It'd be a big scene, blah, blah, blah. Another 15 minutes goes by. I'm like, okay, fine. I skate. And every time I skate by them, that voice is going. Who does he think he is? I don't even know him. And he didn't ask me. That is so disrespectful. I couldn't turn it off. So I went home. I actually left the rink earlier than I've left the rink probably in 10 or 15 years. And it took me 3 days to come back to love and light. So it doesn't mean that you are going to always be love and light, but you always remember that you can be. And on the other end of the story, on Thursday, when I went skating, Sunday night, Thursday night, he was there, and I did have a conversation with him. And I was really good in my conversation, because by then I was clean. I was like, I have a story, it's my story, let me hear his story. And I invited him to tell me what his story was instead of the story that I had made up. And he was pissed off because I was accusing him of stealing his moves, which I never did say that, but that's how he interpreted it. And then he went on to tell me he'd never even watched me skate. He didn't know what I was talking about. He didn't even know the move that I was talking about. And, it wasn't really a productive conversation. But I ended it with, okay, this was my story. I'm acknowledging your story. And I have no reason to believe that you intend harm. And here's what I would like to suggest in the future, if you were ever in a situation like this, but I'm good. I am good with you. There is no bad energy here because I just wanted to share with you. So, yeah, I did kind of the adult thing, and true enough, I've seen him twice since. I've been at the skating rink 3 times since. The group has continued to learn and practice the step. And there is, instead of this much of a charge, there's this much of a charge. And I imagine in another 4 or 5 weeks, there'll be no charge at all. because I keep going back to who do I want to be in the world? Who am I? What is true about me? What is true about spirit operating in me? Do I really believe in umoja, unity, that I am a part of a group? Do I truly believe in self-determination, that I get to choose who I am and how I show up in the world, and I don't have to get hooked and caught and be in a cycle that doesn't serve me? Do I truly believe in these principles that we teach and that I am reminded of? And if I do, then my behavior has to show it. So there are 7 principles. There are 7 days. If you don't know the principles, please take this week to touch base. Go on the internet. Check your Facebook feed. Learn a little bit about the principles. You don't have to celebrate all of the intricacies of Kwanzaa to know about it. And you have 7 days to learn and to recommit to these principles. That's what I hope that you will do. And I invite you to join me this week in doing just that. In my opinion, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa remind me that although we talk more about Christmas in our society, it is just one of many days. Howard Thurman wrote a poem about the work of Christmas, and I want to share it with you and then go directly into prayer. When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flock, that's when the work of Christmas begins. To find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among brothers, to make music from the heart. In you, in me, in all mankind. Recognizing that there is only one life, one love, one presence, one power. It is easy to remember that there is no beginning and there is no end. There is simply the creative process occurring, love giving of itself into an infinite number of forms so that it can experience life. And every person simply is a representation of the infinite possibilities of life. So in this season of days where we celebrate and we look at our traditions and we bring forward that which is meaningful to a good life, it is the opportunity to reflect, yes, but also to recognize and claim who we want to be and how we want to be in the world. And so I speak this word right here and right now, knowing that Kwanzaa is one of those celebrations that gives us the opportunity to say yes to life and yes to love, to take that into tangible form in the way of 7 principles, to understand that the ancient traditions of Africa are so informative to the way that we live in America today, that the African traditions and the ancient wisdom of people and life are simply representing the eternal wisdom and the eternal traditions of the creative process of spirit, of God, of light and love. And how beautiful it is to right here and right now step over an invisible line that has separated love and light from life, and instead choose to be in complete alignment with it, not distracted by individual circumstances or situations, whether they are at the skating rink or with our family or when we look in the mirror, at our jobs, or when we're driving on the highway. Those are just temporary circumstances, conditions, and experiences, but they do not define the light, the truth, the true essential nature of each one who chooses to bring Christ consciousness into the way they think, the way they live, the way they love. So I speak this word knowing that the light of love simply reflects the love of light. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be able to say that I choose to be love, and I choose to be the light everywhere I go. I'm grateful to know that I say this and claim this in a community where there are hundreds of people doing the same. I'm grateful to know that I am able to say this representing the truth of more than 250,000 people who study science of mind around the world in 30 countries. And I'm grateful to be able to say this and know this as the truth that is possible for every being, every form of life. Take a breath. Releasing that breath and releasing this prayer into the flow of divine activity, knowing it is already complete in the mind of God, surrendering it together. I invite you to repeat after me. Amen. Aho. Shalom.